Sandals. What comes to mind when you hear that name? Is it luxury, all inclusion, fun in the sun? How about Butch Stewart? Have you ever wondered about who is the man at the heart of this brand? Where does he come from? What about his family? Well, if you have, this video is a must watch for you. Gordon Arthur Cyril Stewart, affectionately known as Butch to friends and family, was born on July 6, 1941, in the town of Waterrees, Jamaica. His dad, Gordon Leslie Cox, born in England, was adopted by his grandparents, Ethel and Cyril Stewart. They were distant relatives who lived in St. Anne. This same grandmother's parentage dates back to William Steer, who owned 87 slaves in the 1700s. Additionally, another of her ancestors owned the Trafalgar and Breadfield plantations in Jamaica. On the flip side, local historians have noted that she was a playmate of Marcus Garvey, and he spoke fondly of her and her family. Ethel was very fond of Butch and he of her, but when she died in 1955, she left her $1 million fortune to staff and charity, with a small portion for him. Some other publications have noted she left nothing for him. However, keep in mind a portion of Sandals, namely the piano bar, was converted from Ethel Stewart's house, so make of that what you will. Butch's personal life was as colorful as his professional achievements, marked by relationships with multiple women and the children he fathered with them. He fathered 8 children with 4 women, each contributing to the rich tapestry of his family life. Today, we're going to delve deeper into Butch's legacy as it relates to business, politics, as well as his personal life, which appears as if it was chock full of drama. Much is not known about the women who were in his life, so we're going to focus on him, them, and their children. There are various accounts of how Butch earned his nickname. One story suggests that he was such a big baby they started calling him Butch, while another claims a sailor gave him the name. However he got it, it evokes a sense of pride and respect in the people who held and still hold him in high esteem. Butch's industriousness and entrepreneurial spirit were evident at a young age. He was known for catching and selling fish to hotel restaurants on Jamaica's north coast at 12 years old. A close friend of his from childhood had this to say about him. I remember when he turned 12 and I was 7. He used to go and shoot fish, and I would go down to Silver Seas and sell the fish for him. Whatever he wasn't able to sell, he would let me have them, but not before telling me that I should make sure the fish is sold. Yes, I was the fish vendor and he was the fisherman. He joined his mother's appliance business and eventually established his own AC company in Jamaica. In 1972, at the age of 28 years old, Butch opened his own air conditioning business. He convinced the American manufacturer Better's Corporation to allow him to represent their brand in Jamaica, leading to the founding of Appliance Traders Limited. Butch had a simple business philosophy: find out what people want, give it to them, and exceed their expectations. This mantra became evident in all aspects of his life, especially as it relates to hospitality. Butch enjoyed significant success with his air conditioning business, but his greatest achievement came with the purchase of a rundown hotel on a beautiful beach in Montego Bay, Jamaica. This hotel became the foundation of what we now know as Sandals Resorts. Today, Sandals is a household name with various subsidiaries, including beaches and the ATL group of companies, mostly run by his children. Interesting fun fact: Jamaica had its own national airline at one point. Butch led a group of investors to take it over from the government and attempted to transform it. Some people believe that he did a great job doing this. Other people believe that his tenure was disastrous. I will leave it up to you to do your own research and come up with your own conclusion. Butch was deeply involved in philanthropy, and many people today have stories about how their lives were changed and impacted because of him. He established Sandals Foundation in 2009. The foundation focuses on education, environment, and community. It funds scholarships, supports marine conservation, and helps to integrate marine education in local schools. Butch's philanthropic efforts also included initiatives like the Sandals Corporate University, providing opportunities for team members to advance their education and careers. Politically, Butch made some controversial movements and statements. Like most private business owners in Jamaica, he appeared to have connections with most major Jamaican politicians. In a controversial letter to the editor of the Jamaican Observer, a major newspaper owned by one of his companies, Butch said the following regarding the election of Donald Trump. "The Donald Trump I know is by no means crazy, prejudiced, or a bigot. He's probably the most patriotic, nationalistic American I have ever met. He's not a politician, and so he does not polish his words as well as a seasoned politician would. Instead, he shoots from the hip and says it like it is." Regardless of his political affiliations, he was a true nationalist. During an economic crisis in the 1990s, he initiated a plan to deposit $1 million into Jamaican banks weekly to stabilize the local currency. He was honored with numerous awards, including Jamaica's highest national distinctions, the Order of Jamaica, and the Commander of the Order of Distinctions. Now, let's delve deeper into his family life. Butch had 8 children with 4 different women. His eldest child, Brian Jardim, was born in 1963 to Joanne Jardim, who was Canadian-born to Scottish and English parents. She's well known in Guyana and is considered to be a tourism pioneer and developer of the Shanklands resorts. Joanne spent her formative years in Guyana, where she developed a love for the jungle. She was anecdotally a top model in Guyana during her teenage years and went to Canada for her studies before returning to Guyana at 22 years old. She worked for Singer Sewing Machine when she returned, and a few years later met and married her husband, Max Jardim. Brian was born when she was approximately 31 or 32, and by all appearances, married to Max. At the time of Brian's birth, Butch was about 22 years old, so there is a 9-year age difference. Brian was given the last name Jardim and spent his childhood between Jamaica and Guyana. We can use our imaginations and know that during the 1960s, when a child is born to a married woman, he was more than likely given the last name of the man whom his mother is married to. Also at that time, adultery as well as children out of wedlock was frowned upon. During that period, Jamaica also had the Legitimization Act, which states that only children who are born in a marriage or whose parents subsequently marry are legitimate. If those criteria are not met, the child is considered a bastard. So that left a little bit of a conundrum for Brian's parents, and I'm sure they agreed that the best way forward was for him to be raised within his mother's marriage. Also, keep in mind that Butch was in his early 20s at the time and was just beginning to know what it is to be a man, much less a father. Brian has done well for himself, regardless of the presumed rocky start. He earned a bachelor's degree from Rice University in Toronto and a master's in financial accounting from the University of Florida. He worked for Ernst & Young and then as the president of Sandals Resorts International. He later founded Rainforest Seafoods in 1995, a very successful seafood company with 20 retail operations outside of Jamaica. Moving on to his next 2 children, Jonathan and Robert, known as Bobby. Both boys came from the union of Butch Stewart to Erica Hamilton. They were married for a number of years, and Jonathan was born in 1966, and Bobby was born a few years prior. They eventually divorced, but it appears to have been somewhat acrimonious. In court documents, she asserts that she contributed a third of the capital for the ATL group of companies and did not get a proportionate share of the company. So to sum it up, she's basically saying that she invested a third of the money to start ATL, and when they divorced, she didn't get enough from the company which she felt she was entitled to. She's described as a businesswoman and interior designer. She later remarried Richard Downer, but was later divorced in 2007 after approximately 20 years. The divorce appeared to have been contentious and had to go to trial. They had a few different properties that they were fighting over, and in the divorce papers, her soon-to-be ex-husband accused her of cheating. Nothing much was made of the accusation during the trial, and she was able to retain most of the properties. She again married in 2009 to a businessman based out of Scotland and Jamaica. So let's talk about the children that they had together. Jonathan, one of the children that Butch and Erica had, passed away in 1990 at the age of 24. Reportedly, Jonathan was pegged to be the CEO of the Sandal Group of companies, and obviously, this went out the window once he died. According to newspaper articles, Butch stated that he was operating on remote for at least 2 months after Jonathan died. So obviously, it was very devastating, not only for Butch, but I'm sure for Erica as well. Robert Stewart, otherwise called Bobby, is the only surviving child of that union. He worked in the Sandals Group of Company and the ATL Group of Companies in many different capacities, with senior positions in technology and marketing. Currently, he's the founder and managing director of Geofix Jamaica, which does explorations and mining for copper, zinc, gold, and other minerals. He stated to the Gleaner that, "I felt the need to do something to contribute to Jamaica, as I felt that I had already made my maximum contribution to the family business." Next, let's talk about the third woman Butch had children with. Butch's second wife is Penelope Jane Stewart, otherwise called PJ Stewart. She was raised primarily in Kenya to English parents. She moved to Jamaica at 26 years old. She noted that on a trip to Jamaica, she fell in love with it and all other plans were shelved. In an interview, she noted that she met Butch on the second day that she was here in Jamaica. She gave birth to Jamie Stewart, now Jamie Stewart McConnell, in 1979, and Adam Stewart in 1981. They later divorced, and I am assuming that she got a substantial settlement, as Butch's properties and holdings, as well as his businesses, continued to rise during the 70s and 80s. Today, PJ Stewart is an artist and continues to make Jamaica her home, which isn't surprising as she does have children and grandchildren here. So let's talk about the children from this union. Jamie Stewart McConnell sits on the board of Sandals. She also started a company with her husband, a juice company called Origins. They were proud to note that they did it on their own without taking money from both of their prominent families. Adam Stewart is the executive chairman of Sandals Resorts and Beaches Resorts, president of the Sandals Foundation, and executive chairman of the ATL Group of Companies, a Jamaica-based automotive, commercial, and domestic appliance distributor. So it appears he has taken over the role once held by his father. Next is Cheryl Hammersmith Stewart, who was born in 1960. Much is not known about the origins of their relationship. However, according to court documents, a business relationship can be established as early as 1992, when Cheryl was approximately 32 years old. Further court documents state that Cheryl was his partner of some 30 years. Well, since he died in 2021, and if we deduct 30 years from 2021, then we can assume the relationship started at least in 1991. Reportedly, she did advertising work for Sandals, and presumably that is how she met Butch. It is noted that Cheryl is the common-law spouse of Butch, and reportedly that is why she took on this last name. But no legal marriage ever took place, allegedly. From their union, Sabrina was born in 2000, and a few years later, Gordon and Kelly were born in 2002. Sadly, while in Miami, Butch passed away in 2021 at the age of 79 during the heights of the COVID-19 pandemic after a battle with cancer. This devastating loss was felt in Jamaica and internationally as well. Newspapers all over the world carried the headline and praised him for his numerous contributions to Jamaica and the hospitality industry. His funeral was attended by both his American and Jamaican families, as well as notable Jamaican public figures. All appeared to be amicable at the funeral, with everyone mourning Butch, but it was soon revealed that it isn't always as it appears. The old adage, "money is the root of all evil," aptly describes what soon took place. The U.S. family consists of Butch's longtime girlfriend, Cheryl Hammersmith Stewart, and their 3 children, Sabrina, Gordon, and Kelly. The Jamaican family consists of Adam, Jamie, Brian, and Robert. Butch established two trusts in the Bahamas and one in Jamaica. A trust is used to ensure that an individual's assets are administered properly according to their wishes. These trusts were supposed to divide his assets according to his wishes. The initial trust reportedly primarily favored the Jamaican family, particularly Adam and Jamie. Cheryl is alleging that right before Butch died, he changed his wishes. This was done through a memorandum dated January 3rd, 2021. Again, this is the day right before Butch died. According to reports, this memo notes that his assets should be split across 5 trusts instead of 2. One for Cheryl and her children, and one each for Adam, Jamie, Brian, and Robert. The new split would have the U.S. family with 42% of shares. Adam, Jamie, and Bobby would each get 16.67%, and Brian would get 8%. Additionally, the memorandum notes that the U.S. family should get veto shares equal to what the Jamaican family has. So what that does is give them more say in how the companies are being run. Further, the memo said that the U.S. family is to get a $100 million payout. Obviously, this didn't sit too well with Adam and the rest of the Jamaican family, and they have challenged the memorandum. The case is currently before the courts. It appears as if the main contenders are Cheryl and Adam. Cheryl has made some damning allegations as it relates to Adam and the trustees of the will. Adam has reportedly accused Cheryl of trying to drive a wedge between the American and Jamaican sides of the family. There appears to be no love lost between these two. Keep a couple things in mind though. Adam was born in 1981, and we've established that Cheryl's and Butch's relationship started at least in 1991. I don't know if there was some overlapping in the relationships of PJ and Butch and Cheryl and Butch. If there was, this may have led to some bitterness. This is pure speculation on my part, however. Incidentally, according to a New York-based publication, sources are saying Adam is playing hardball with payouts as specified in the will because his mother is the only of Butch's former partners who was not left anything in his will. Butch Stewart was a man, mogul, entrepreneur, legacy maker, philanthropist, father, husband, and consummate professional. His loss has been felt throughout the world. Despite his success, his life had its imperfections, making him more relatable as a human being. This video introduced you to Butch's family and their roles in his life. Stay tuned for the next video where we will delve deeper into the ongoing legal battle over his estate.